Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Natter. I'm delighted to be here with you once again. And each week, I either talk to somebody from a network marketing background, like myself. So, for those of you that don't know me, my background is actually in marketing, but I got made redundant twice. I then came across our company actually through my mum, who had been with the company for 10 years already. And as they say, mum's always right. And I got started within network marketing. It's been absolutely incredible for me because it's literally our main income. It's put my kids through a private education and pays for a pretty amazing lifestyle. However, it's not all about network marketing, because each week I talk to someone from that industry or someone who, since the pandemic, has had to take their business more online, the changes they've had to make, and how, sharing those changes with our listeners will help you to either get ideas for your own business or to move your business forward. Or we're having a lot of people that are also looking at starting up in business. So tonight is one of those nights, and I'm delighted to introduce you to my guest, who is someone I've known for a very long time. Actually, he started off working with Forever. He was their graphic designer. He then went off on his own, and a lot of people ask, who is the person behind my branding? And this is he. So a big welcome to Dave Hill. How are you, Dave?
Not bad, thank you. Cheers. Thank you for the very nice introduction.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into being into graphic design then.
I did it at university, and off the back of that, kind of, as you say, started working at Forever. And I was there for about 8 years, which, in a kind of inflection as far as my career progression goes, was a bit of a long slog. I think, when you're in any career, you want to look for progression. But at the same time as working there, I was competing in mixed martial arts, and that was kind of my focus at the time. And as time went on, I started kind of wanting to develop my design skills, because it's a bit more sustainable as I got older than competing in MMA was.
And probably less painful as well.
Yes, certainly. Certainly. And so I kind of started developing into seeing how I could do freelance. I think you were one of my first clients I was working with alongside my Forever work, along my full-time job. And then slowly that started to pick up outside of my full-time job, and then kind of decided to brave the freelance world, which so far has been going pretty well.
Well, you're pretty snowed under a lot of the time, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. And like you say about the pandemic and everything, I did have a bit of a slump, because a lot of my work was events at one point. Probably 25% of my work was event work, which obviously just dived off a cliff in March last year, and I was a bit like, oh. But luckily managed to pick up a few more clients, get kind of more work off some of my current clients that I had at the time. And kind of pretty non-stop, which is a good problem to have. But
it's and obviously, with so many people taking their business online right now, I guess people like yourself in graphic design are pretty busy everywhere if they're good at it.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of graphic designers around, obviously, and a lot of people I have the odd person who's used different cheaper online resources and something, and then they need to sort it out afterwards. So I think certainly, without blowing through, I do well because I offer a decent service to people, which works out well for me. But it's definitely changed how the kind of different stuff I've done, because there's even online events and things I've been doing, branding for and promotional stuff for, which, while I don't think they'll ever overtake real events once we can get them back again, but equally, as a kind of stopgap, I think they seem to be moderately popular within certain industries.
And I'm probably one of your worst clients as well, because I'm someone that doesn't plan at all. I literally come up with an idea and think, I know the person that can help me do this. And then you get me there and you're like, yeah, I'll help you. But it's fitting me in around everything else. But I think
that's the same with a lot of clients, though. I think as a freelancer, I'm kind of like a lot of the companies I work for have in-house designers, and if they're too busy or they don't want the job, it will come to me. And a lot of time, that's the reason it's coming to me, is because they can't do it in-house, so then they need a quick turnaround. So a lot of my clients are very much I haven't heard from them for a few weeks or a month or however long. Can you do this today? And I'm like, oh,
screaming at you, just
yeah.
like.
So you're certainly not one of my worst clients. Not to bash my clients, because I very much appreciate them all. But
So, Dave, now at the moment, I mean, there's never been a more important time than your online presence for any kind of business, really. Because, you know, even for me in my industry, I've been doing this for 15 years. And in the past year, we've totally changed the way that we work, in that we are solely online now. And a lot of people ask me questions about my branding and the importance of having it on the different social media platforms. So what can you share with people about that? Where do they even start?
I think it's mainly, I mean, for me, there's certain things that I've done wrong. I mean, you talk about spreading across different platforms, and one of the things I've done wrong with what we'll discuss later, my kind of little side business I've started working on, is I solely had that on Instagram. And I was very much kind of narrowing down my audience, obviously. And I don't know why, just because initially it wasn't even a business what I was trying to do with my Craft Diaries account. It was just a bit of fun, really. So it was just kind of a little Instagram account. As it started to grow and I started to sell product from it, it was, where do I go next and how do I branch out? And even when I just started posting a bit more on Facebook, suddenly I had a new audience that was kind of looking at what I was doing, and I was getting more sales. So it is, you know, that highlighted to me that I was doing things wrong and needed to spread my wings a bit more. I think the main thing is kind of consistent message. It's a consistent, you know, a moderately consistent look at least, because obviously not everyone has the has the luxury of having a designer available. But if you can have kind of moderately consistent looking images / you know, designs on your social media and a pretty consistent message, I think people will slowly start to recognise
So
who you are.
when someone sees you on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, they need to be able to look and think, well, that's the same person.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Remember your name, will they? But they'll remember your branding, your Facebook profile photo, whatever it is, to have that kind of consistency.
Yeah, and there's so much noise on social media, the amount of things that you'll scroll past, you know, because you just sit there scrolling, don't you? And if it's someone that you're interested in or an account that you like, you'll recognise that it's them. So you might actually stop scrolling and have a read, rather than just, you know, if they've just posted something off another account or they've just created something that's completely different, you might be less likely to actually stop and kind of acknowledge it, is my thoughts on it anyhow.
What would you say about knowing your audience?
Also something that I kind of learned on the job almost with, because I mean, with a lot of my stuff with my kind of little side business of selling beer glasses, it's a extremely...
Let's show everybody this, shall we? While we're talking, they might be thinking, what on earth is this? So when I was chatting to Dave, this is how this conversation came about. You were doing some work for me, and then we got on to Instagram, and I'd seen this on Instagram, and it turns out that it's Dave. So Dave, what is this? The Craft Diaries. Tell us about your little hobby that turned into a business. And there's so many people that have got hobbies that would love to see how they can convert that into a business.
Yeah, it's like a hobby gone wrong, isn't it? I would almost say, because it kind of takes up so much of my time now, but it also has provided me with a certain income. And when I first said earlier I wanted to branch out and kind of focus on my design more, and I thought, what element of design do I like? And beer branding was one of the things I thought was quite cool, quite interesting. So I contacted a local brewery, which is Purity, and said to them, you know, I'm a designer. Do you ever, you know, have any idea if you ever need anyone in house? They invited me in for a meeting, and one of the things they were struggling with was getting their social media kind of getting much engagement. That kind of conversation came to an end. They said, we'll get you back in at some point, and I never went back in, but I kind of developed an idea in the background in case I did go in, which was just using all the beer characters on the beer labels within posts and combining illustration and photos. Kind of didn't get to see them, but thought I'll give it a go myself, as one, a way to develop my illustrations, and two, just a little creative outlet and a good excuse to drink more beer. And then got to about 20,000 followers and thought I could probably do something with this. I really enjoy it.
Pretty immense, Dave. There's a lot of people that would like to have over 20,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, which no, it's from a hobby. I mean, that's just, it's consistent. It's kind of, because I've been doing it consistent. And I, of course, I enjoy the followers, but I didn't do it for getting followers. I did it because I enjoyed what I was doing. And I think people can see that, and they kind of get a certain level of enjoyment out of it, because it's, my posts are just kind of fun, silly posts with the labels in and kind of characters interacting with them. As to say, got a decent following, and one of the things I thought was missing was branded glassware, which wasn't a brewery brand. So, as modelled by yourself.
As modelled by me, I love them.
That was the first one.
I say the teenagers fight over it though, so I might need to get some more.
That's fine. I can get some more. But I actually had 1,000 glasses delivered today, funnily enough. So because I'm kind of looking to take a wholesale now. But so in lockdown, with everything going quieter, it gave me a bit more time. It wasn't kind of worryingly quiet for me, but I did have more time. So started thinking, right, what can I do with the glasses? And I ordered 200 of them, and I only had 50 boxes. And I thought, if I sell, I didn't think I'd sell anywhere near 50 in the first few weeks. So I just had 50 boxes. I had about 10 packed up, put them online. I sold 100 in the first 24 hours. And I was like, oh crap, how am I gonna do this for the post office? What am I gonna do? And my dad, luckily, he was extremely helpful. He's got a good thinking head in him, whereas I'm just a bit slapdash. I messaged him. I was like, yeah. And he said, have you set up your online click and collect? Have you done? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you want me to do it? So he did all the logistics side for me the first weekend, and then I sold out of all the first batch of glasses in like just over a week. I think it was 10 days. And then from that, I'm still very disorganised with it and need to get that under control. But luckily, my dad has kind of helped with logistics, and I've sold, I think, over 1,500 glasses now.
So sometimes a good idea for a business can just literally take off, and then you worry about the stuff after. And I know I've been very much like that in my business as well, Dave. I think planning hasn't been my forte, but being able to react the right way to solve a problem or a challenge when it happens. And, I think a lot of people probably spend too much time doing a plan, trying to get it perfect to begin with, rather than just being a little bit fluid and seeing where it takes you.
Yeah, I think you've got to be reactive, haven't you? I mean, again, going back to what I said earlier about when I used to compete in MMA when I was younger, alongside my job, a lot of people go in with a proper game plan and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But then when someone hits you in the face, it changes. You can't think I need to do this, I need to do that. You need to react to what happens. And I used to, as a fighter, be really reactive. And I think I've kind of taken that into how I manage my work life. But I'm also very happy to kind of commit to it and work hard with it, in that if something goes wrong, I won't just bury my head in the sand and think, oh crap, I will react to the issue in hand, and with a bit of help with my dad this time. But I'll stay up till midnight, 1 a.m. if I have to. I don't like to do it, but on occasion, if I've got too much work, or for example, before Christmas, I had some glasses coming from Germany, and they were initially going to be delayed by just over a month. Ended up having a right stinkering go at them and pulled it back to only delay by a week. But they ended up coming in the start of December, which obviously to release for Christmas gifts is a bit late. So as soon as they arrived, drove them all over to my dad's and was packing boxes, thankfully with his help, for hours on end to get it all launched. And I put them online before we got them packed, because I took a photo, put them online, drove to my dad's to get them all packed, and again sold 150 of them in like just over 24 hours. And we were just packing as we were going, because I was reacting to kind of what had happened, basically, rather than forecasting it too much.
Yeah, totally. I think, it's obviously great to have a plan and to, do a forecast for the year, etc. But there's a lot of things that you can't plan for. And I think being a business owner, one of the most important things is being able to think on your feet. And I mean, no one, for example, would ever have imagined the pandemic that we're in now. And, your business has grown, both of them, be it your graphic design and your craft diaries. My business has grown massively as well. And we could have just sat back and thought, what are we going to do? You'd lost clients, needed new ones. I had to rethink, how we're going to do this business, because I was very much a people in-person business. But rather than just worrying too much, you've just got to think on your feet and not be frightened, I think. For me, it was totally changing the way that I use technology. And I'm not good at technology at all. But I thought to myself, if it's going to be, then I'm going to have to sort it out, stand up, lead by example, and make it happen. And, I think as a business owner, that's what success is about, or the difference between people that become successful and those that don't. It's the challenges, where it takes you, and how you react to them.
Yeah, I think it's confidence as well, isn't it? It's the confidence in yourself and kind of what you're doing, and knowing that you're doing something that people will be interested in, and support around you. Kind of the amount of support I've been shown by the Instagram followers I have, and mates as well, kind of buying glasses and stuff. It's brilliant, and it gives you a little buzz, doesn't it? And it kicks you on to the next level of, I want to do this now, and I want to I want to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people, starting out in business, I suppose going along and seeing your Instagram site and maybe scrolling back to kind of where you began, how you use it, will be a good insight in how to, create an Instagram account for your business or launch a new business, because I guess your story's there.
Yeah, I think so. And also, I mean, if you look at my initial posts, I mean, the reason I did it, as I say, it wasn't for a business thing. It was just for a bit of fun, and because my weak point as a designer was illustration. So I just thought, I came up with this idea for the brewery. They didn't want to, well, I didn't even get to display it to them.
I bet they're gutted now.
Sorry?
I bet they'll be gutted now.
Oh, yeah, they've got about, I think I took their following within about 3 months, which I was buzzing about. So if you look at my old illustrations, the quality's not nowhere near what it is now, and that's because I just used it to develop, and then as it started to develop more and I got more of a following, that's when I was like, okay, I think I can apply this to a product. And I think there's a bit of a hole in the market in that there's no one really doing what I want to do. But in America there's quite a few kind of different beer glass companies, and they sell out in they'll do a few hundred glasses and sell them out instantly. So yeah, it's kind of, that's the goal to get to, where people are kind of chomping at the bit to get my next release and all that. So
you're obviously thinking of wholesaling them now, as you said. So what's your kind of plan for the next 6 months?
Again, this is one of the things I need to, because I'm running this alongside my freelancing. I'm busy with, which is brilliant, but it's trying to find the time. So there's a little bit of winging it. There's quite a lot of winging it. But I basically, as a little test of the water, I emailed just 10 random bottle shops about a month ago, because I had a bit of stock, and I just emailed them and said, by the way, looking to get wholesale, here's some prices. If you're interested, let me know. And I got 3 orders out of the 10, and they were just cold emails.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I thought I'd be lucky to get 1 out of my first 10 emails. So I got 3 orders, sent them out. One of them was reordered already, and then that's why today the glasses came. So I ordered 500 of the juice bomb ones, 500 of the stout life ones, which are just a different alteration of it. So they got delivered today. And then what I'm going to do over the next week is, because I think it's easy to manage 10 emails at a time. So if I email 100 people and get overexcited and they all come back to me with questions and so on, I can't manage that alongside what I'm doing. So I'll do 10 emails a week and say, introduce myself, introduce what I'm doing. I've got a PDF pulled together which talks about who I am, what my account is, and what I've got to offer. And why I think it's a unique thing that they want to buy, because if you look on my Instagram, the amount of photos I'm tagged in, there's hundreds if not thousands of photos of all these beer bloggers using them, and it's because they're a bit more unique than a lot of the other stuff out there. And then see how I go, and then each week I can kind of reach out to 10 more people and just go from there, and then hopefully if and when I run out of this stock, buy larger quantities. And a lot of the glass suppliers, the ones with more unique glasses, are over in Germany, because this glass is one of the ones I did. It's called a Teku glass, and it's quite an unusual shape, as you can see. And it's supposedly meant to.
Looks like a gin glass to me, that one.
Sorry?
Looks like a good gin glass, that one.
Yeah, it does. It's a bit of a gin wine looking glass, isn't it? And apparently it's meant to make the beer flavours taste better because the aromas and the shape, all this fancy stuff. Anyway, there's a German company that's got the design patented, so you can only order from them, which obviously makes it more expensive because of shipping, and they've got large minimum order quantities, and now Brexit makes it a pain because kind of getting them over. I've got my first test run. I think they printed them this week, actually. So in the next few weeks, I'll see if I manage to get them over the border. So fingers crossed.
So I think, with any business, though, like you said, it's just having your plan and being consistent. So, emailing those 10 people and then remembering to follow up, because, for me, the fortune is always in the follow-up. You kind of do all that effort, get the work out, whatever business it is that you're doing. But a lot of people forget to do that follow-up. And, why do people advertise? Because people need to see things again and again before they buy. So it's the same when you're sending out, like you are, it's actually following up and saying, hello, did you hear from me?
Yeah, I think it's the confidence as well, isn't it? It's the confidence to, as I say, to believe in what you're doing. And I was really nervous when I first did the glasses because you don't know how they're going to be received. I thought, what if I sell 2 of them?
Isn't it?
And also, social media can be quite nasty. So it's like, are people going to be commenting, going, "Oh, these are crap," these are, and all this. And there was a bit of anxiety. I'm not really an anxious bloke. I worry a bit. We all worry, but I'm not an anxious guy. I'm quite confident. But I was like, "Oh God, what if everyone says they're crap, or what if I don't sell any?" And and I had that, and the same as when I contacted those 10 bottle shops, I thought I've got something to offer these people. Hopefully they're interested. But equally, I thought, what if they all say, "No, mate, what are you contacting me for?" But turns out people are nice people. Even people who weren't interested. I got a couple of replies just saying, "I don't really stock glasses, but thanks so much for contacting me." And no, obviously no one was nasty, and they've been received really well. And it's just glad I did it. I kind of wish I'd done it earlier because I thought about it for a few years. Because I've been doing the account for maybe 4 years. So a couple of years in, I was like, oh, I might try that. But it was building up the confidence to back myself and to just chance it. Because the worst that can happen is I have a garage full of glasses and, big deal. At least I can say I tried it.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have a big party, couldn't you?
Exactly, yeah.
And I think as well, with anyone in business, whatever you're selling, whether you're selling a product, a service, yourself, the worst thing someone can say is no, they're not interested, they don't want it. But if you don't go out and ask them, it's 100% no. Whereas whether you have the courage to stand up, show your service, ask them, you've got a 50% chance that they're going to be interested and 50% that they're not. But a lot, they might not be interested, but they might have a referral as well. So it's still always worth following up in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, the amount of referrals I've had, the reason I'm so busy as a designer is referrals, is people I've even had, when I first started contacting breweries, one bloke said I think it was Hackney Brewery they were, and he said, "We've got a designer, we're really happy with him, but try contacting these people." And he sent me a couple of contacts, contacted one of them, and one of them gave me quite consistent work for quite a while. And again, with referrals, you've referred me to people, which has been brilliant, and quite a few of my big clients, people have kind of passed me around a bit, and word of mouth and that.
I think that's again, in any business, if you're giving a good service, then people are going to be happy to refer you. And for me, in my business, I get a lot of my customers from referrals, but I also get people joining the team wanting to get started to earn some extra money through referrals from people that I know as well. And it's the best way to do business, isn't it? Because people do work on trust. So, Dave, back to the branding side. If we've got listeners who are looking to rebrand or maybe set up in business, what would you say is their starting point for being able to get their best look there? Where do they even start?
I think it's deciding what you want, who you are and what you're doing, because I'll get people who come to me with an idea of one, to save yourself cost, because if you do use a designer, then if you go to them with a bit of an idea, even if it's a loose idea, at least it can start to kind of form where they're going to go with it. Whereas if someone comes to you and says, "I want a logo," and potentially they don't even know quite what their business is about, other than they'll be like, "Oh, I'm selling flowers." But if you need a kind of consistent message of what you want to do, and if you're particularly using, I don't know why I've used flowers as an example, but if you're using a certain style of flower, or whatever you're doing with it, having what's your niche, what's your kind of, what makes you a bit more unique, and what are you about, what's your kind of brand ethos, and so on. Even if you're a small business, just what do you believe in as a business, that kind of thing, and those kind of thoughts. One can help you direct the content that you're putting out there and give it some kind of consistency, rather than just being a bit of messy, like, "Oh crap, I need to do a post, let's just put this out there." At least you can kind of form a bit of structure to what you're doing and what your message is. Plus, as far as kind of using a designer or someone to do some kind of creative for you, you can give them a bit of narrative, which allows them to come up with concepts for you, which makes it easier for the designer, which therefore in general will take them less time to do the work, which will generally save you money. And also it probably gets you a better result out at the end, because it's the kind of logo that you're going to have and hopefully stick with, rather than think a few months down the line, "Oh, it's not quite, I've changed my business model now, I've changed what I want to do." So I think it's just understanding what your message is, what you're trying to achieve, and what you can offer people.
And where the people are, I suppose, where your potential customers are, and who your ideal customer is, what they look like.
Which is one of the things that, as I say, I'd neglected a little bit at the start, especially with my glasses. I've got 20,000 Instagram followers, let's sell them glasses. And then when they've all bought a glass, then where do I go? And that was kind of my what do I do now? And I hit a little road, just because as much as I'm involved in certain elements of that from the marketing side, a lot of my stuff is more the design. So I'll discuss those kind of things, but I won't properly do a strategic plan for it. So that's one of the learning curves I've had, is quite how I reach other people and kind of avenues I can go down. And even just like doing sponsor posts on Facebook, which I hadn't advertised on before, I got a load of orders through that, because obviously people never seen me before, and why would they? If you didn't follow my Instagram account, you haven't got a clue that my presence exists.
So knowing where to market and how to drive them back to your platforms as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the reasons I want to go wholesale, is because one, of course, I want to increase sales, and two, I want to spread awareness of my brand. And if I can get into different bottle shops, I've got my two kind of core glasses, which are the main, the one I mentioned, juice one that you've got, and the one Stout Life one. And if they can start to kind of spread further and further within the beer industry, people will obviously know my name, be able to find my site, follow my Instagram, and then the kind of limited release glasses, which are ones they'll only be able to get from my account, which are a bit more special, say. It just helps me drive those sales and helps people kind of be excited by it, really. It's my loose plan at the moment, but it's just,
I think it's interesting talking to you, because it reminds me of myself, really. When I started in business, I didn't have so much of a plan at all, and I just kind of reacted to stuff as we'd gone along. And I was actually talking to a business coach the other day, and it made me realize how, although I hadn't planned strategically, I've learned all these things as I've gone along. So I think for people listening, looking to start out in business, it's about not having a fear, isn't it? And just having an idea and kind of running with it. And you can sort out all the things along the way if you know where to go and get the help from, and not being scared of those challenges, and just being able to think on your feet, really, rather than have all the experience and think, I've never had a business before, I can't do it. You can, anyone can. It's just having that idea and learning as you go. You don't need to know everything.
Yeah, I think when you go into business, almost everyone you speak to always wishes they'd done it sooner.
Yeah.
There's very few people who, but it is just a building confidence. But me as a freelancer, I was at Forever, then I worked at UK Mail for just over a year, and the people were sound, but I hated the job. And luckily, that's what pushed me to freelance. But I wish I'd have done it a few years before I even left Forever. But it could have turned out completely different. And the amount of stuff I learned elsewhere obviously helped me to kind of get do as well as I have. But you always look at it and think, I should have done it sooner, because you always think about it for so long and you put it off because you think of excuses of why you shouldn't do it, or why you're not good enough at it. I thought, my design's not as good as it should be to be a freelancer, and so on. And then I've done work for really massive clients now, like Forever obviously is a big client of mine, and doing stuff for Bentley at the moment, through Simon, who's one of the contacts you put me in touch with.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So working for big brands and stuff. And if you'd said that to me when I first went freelance, I'd have been like, no way, I'm not going to be. But you just have the confidence to do it, and it all turns out pretty well. And like you say, the worst thing that happens is you have to go back to square one somewhere if it doesn't work out. But at least you've tried it, and at least you can reflect on it and say, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I often get people saying to me, what would you change? What would you do differently? And my word, I've made loads of mistakes along the way, haven't we all? But I think that makes you into the person that you become, and you build up an amount of empathy as well. So, when you're working with other people, it's having that experience, and those challenges along the way helps you, I think, be even more successful in the future. So I don't look back and think, I should have changed that, I should have done that, because the end product is a result of all of those things added up. So I think it's just not having the fear and going for it, isn't it?
Yeah. The worst case is that you fail, and as kind of cliche as it is, you learn off that, don't you? And then you try again on something different. But it's also being passionate about what you're doing.
And most entrepreneurs, business owners have failed at something along the way to get to the thing that works for them. So I think it's about just having a go and absolutely doing it. So, Dave, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I am very delighted to have you with us. We'll probably should say cheers, really, with our juice bomb glasses.
Cheers.
Very, very cool. So go and find Dave on Instagram at The Craft Diaries, and go and check out his design. And well, I think they're pretty cool. And like you say, it's very, very different and something unique, which is why it's going to develop into a very successful business, I'm sure. So yeah, thanks for listening in, everyone. Obviously, if you want help with your design, then you can contact Dave. There's his details there, and you can also go along to his Instagram and give him a follow. And obviously, anyone in the beer industry, this is the man. These are the glasses. So be part of them before you are not in the cool gang.
That's it.
Got to be in it, haven't you, Dave? So yeah, see you next week, everyone. And I will be looking forward to chatting to someone who is making an absolute booming success in the network marketing industry right now. So good evening.